Well, here we are, two Matt's, one market.
Go with your intro.
Matt Kirschling, Gold Star Mortgage.
And this is?
I'm Vanessa Mahler.
And this is Matthew Kemps with Loan Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. And this is Two Matts, One Market.
There it is. So, Vanessa, we mentioned the name, but what do you do? Where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Okay.
Lived in Austin for 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel old. Moved here when there was like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from the Dallas area.
Okay.
Richardson, Plano. Lived in East Texas, graduated out there, went to UNT, went back to East Texas, and then said, what am I doing with my life? And I came to Austin.
Okay. And, we kind of talked about, Matt, we know, is a real estate agent. I'm a lender. And you?
I'm a real estate agent.
A real estate agent as well. You got to remember, first of all, we've never met.
This is true.
So I'm doing this off the fly here. Vanessa and I literally introduced each other and sat right down, and here we are on the podcast. But so real estate agent, that's fantastic. So that's fitting because yesterday we had this young buck on who was part of a startup, 22 years old,
21.
Sharp kid, 21 years old. And, two Matts, one market, although entrepreneurial, we try to keep it real estate going. So how long have you been in real estate? What made you decide to get crazy and get into real estate?
Yeah, so I worked in the hospital systems for 10 years here in Austin and in Hawaii.
What part of Hawaii?
I lived in Oahu. I lived in Honolulu.
We talked about this.
Yeah. I lived out there for like 6 months, and then I came back to Austin. That's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But after COVID, I went back to the hospitals, and I was like, I just don't know if I want to do this anymore. I took some time off, and I'm like, I'm not going back. And I didn't know what to do. So I talked to my friend in Houston, real estate developer. He's like, you should get your license. I always thought about it, but I never did because I was always in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Why not give it a shot? What else am I doing? So I did. And then I moved to Mexico City. So, yeah.
Why?
My life is crazy. I moved there. My best friend lives there that I met in the Woodlands. And I was like, I don't really want to. I've been working so hard, taking call. Like, why not? I have the opportunity to go. I'm going to do it. So I was out there.
YOLO.
I was out there. Exactly. I was out there.
Bet, bro.
Doing the EB-5 program.
Okay.
I don't know.
Which is what?
It's an immigrant investor program.
Okay.
So with the real estate development company out in Houston, they build, multi-family use, big, beautiful buildings, and they get a lot of investors, obviously. And it fast tracks their green card.
Okay.
So you have to put for this particular project, it was $1 million. You had to invest, and you could get, a condo. It's really complicated. But this is their election year too. So nobody wanted to do anything. They wanted to see and wait, what's going to happen next year? So nothing was happening. And I'm like, okay. So I spent 9 months out there doing that. And I'm like, I'm going home. I'm going back to Austin. So when I came back, I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually looked at Spyglass, and I was like, oh, they're never going to take me. They're not going to give me no. So I went with JB Goodwin. And about a month and a half after being with them, Ryan reached out to me.
Sweet.
Through Instagram. And I was like, hell yes. Because I had obviously looked at Spyglass, and I'm like, I'm on board. So I met with Lauren, and we just really got along. I really liked the idea of having a mentor and being a part of a team. And basically, somebody be like, do this. Because I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what to do. And yeah, I haven't looked back, and I've been really, really busy, and I love it.
How long have you been with Spyglass?
Like a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to clarify, team lead for her is Lauren Hoy.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, gosh, I normally know many agents, but I don't know Lauren either.
Lauren's great.
She's
awesome.
She does a lot with Spyglass specifically. So she handles all the culture community. She is super, super invested into that and does a lot of things for the community itself, from nonprofit work to coordinating all the events to everything related that Spyglass can be a part of. And the cool part is my phone is ringing and it's the wrong freaking person calling me, but you can keep running from there.
Yeah. So should we run her down with the questions?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm usually the ones doing the questions. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, as I said, we keep it real estate related, but one of the things that I tell real estate agents, whether they know it or not, is that they're ultimately, you're a self-employed business owner as a real estate agent. You're 1099, you got to basically run your own business. So just starting with Spyglass, it's new, it's exciting. What are some of the things that you feel like you're up against obstacle-wise that's kind of slowing you down, or not slowing you down, but if you could make this happen, what would really advance your career?
I'd bring the interest rates down. No, it is a problem though.
Yeah?
Yeah, it is because people are scared.
Mm.
People who don't understand what their financing options are. I found that being huge. My thing is let's talk to Nasi, right? I'm not a mortgage lender. I can only get you so far,
Sure.
and then I can hand you over to somebody who actually can really help you. But yeah, it's a huge obstacle. And there's just a lot of competition here in Austin.
A lot of competition
It-
amongst other agents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm really big into Instagram. That's part of my marketing. And some of the people obviously that helped me kind of form what I want to do is like Kumara, right? Like she's my number one. I want to be Kumara. I
Right.
want to sell what she sells. I wish I could do it today, but it's not going to happen. So, competing with people like that, and people like, Christy Leonard and Hannah Allen, who are really big on Instagram, those are obstacles. But those obstacles just give me something to do every day to work on.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Going to the interest rate thing, it's kind of interesting to hear you say that. Were you involved in the market in like 2020, 2021?
No, I wish I was, though.
Okay. Well, I mean, one of the things I think is important to remember, and we talk about this all the time, is I sometimes think real estate agents forget that no matter where interest rates are, property values, at the end of the day, you're in a sales position, right? So if interest rates go down, you're going to find that, yeah, there might be more interest, but you're not making money unless you can get somebody to accept your offer and close, right? So having more buyers really doesn't mean anything.
Well,
So-
I understand that, but people want it one way or the other, and then when it's the other
Oh,
way,
they want it
the other
both
way.
ways.
So they're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait until the interest rates, it's not so crazy back when it was crazy,
Mhm.
and now they're like, well, now the interest rates are so high. It's like you can't have it both ways. You gotta pick with one, you gotta run with it, and you gotta know what your options are and how to work around it. Which is why I'm really happy with being a Spyglass, because I have people like Matt where, he's experienced, he has a lot of knowledge. I can, hey, help us out. But you can't have it both ways. You got to pick, I want it to be in this market or in that market and go with it.
You know what I find? Typically, when I have conversations like that, it's usually nothing to do with the interest rates or the property values or anything along those lines. There's some underlying issue that's keeping people from purchasing. A lot of times it's either lifestyle, right? That's a big one.
Huge one.
People don't want to cut into their lifestyle. I've been running into this. This is my favorite one. I feel like there's always a common theme. Like every 90 days, the theme changes. And recently the theme has been, I've been finding people who are available or have the ability to purchase. And then they give me kind of reasons that they don't want to purchase, similar to what you just described. And then once I start needling and digging, I find out that the reason why they don't want to purchase is because the home that they would purchase would cut into like bottle service on West 6th, or, might cut into like playing cards on the weekends or sports betting, or and truthfully, it's mainly men. Because one of the things, and I'll ask you this here in a second, I always ask new people that I'm interviewing, I know that you'd be happy to work with any buyer and or seller that would be willing to work with you. But if you got to pick, can you describe who your ideal client is?
I'll let you go first.
That's tough. That's tough.
Well, I'll go to make it so you can get an idea. I personally love dealing with women that are, they don't like, when I say single, I don't mean their status, but I like dealing with a woman who is buying a home on her own. And the reason why I like dealing with female buyers more than men or even couples is because I find that women, number one, they see more value in home ownership than men do. There's actually a statistic about it that women see purchasing a home as more of an investment than a man. A man would rather do stocks and all these other things. And then women don't come into the transaction typically acting like they know everything. So they ask really good questions, right? They really want to like know what they're doing. They're not like, I like read an article online. You don't have to mansplain me, bro. And so female buyers are my favorite. And here's the other thing that I also think is super interesting, and probably why I like female buyers, is that over the last 30 years, you can look at education, and you probably know this. I mean, you're in the medical field, so you have to have some form of higher education. Women are graduating college at a rate well over, broad stroke, than men. So you've got a higher educated individual that is willing to ask good questions and run everything down, And then lastly, sees value more so than the opposite sex in investing in real estate. That is my ideal
I'll
client.
add one more onto his, okay? And I see women in that same scenario actually trust a real estate agent's knowledge and suggestions that we make than the man who doesn't want me to mansplain.
Yeah. So who's your ideal client?
Well, now I'm gonna have to agree.
You like female clients?
I'm gonna have to agree. Well, I am a female, so sometimes working with men, they don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Doesn't matter if I'm a female or a male.
Why do you think that is?
You're the man.
I mean, I can speculate, but I can't say for myself. I'm coachable. I mean, anyone who knows me, even as a managerial, like I oversee people. Anyone will tell you I'm coachable. Like I have the ability to say I'm wrong, but I find that from men that's not common.
I don't know. I feel like women know what they want. They're like, you go into a house. The guy's like, just like with a wedding. You take care of it. The woman's, they either like it or they don't. Right? They're like, I don't like this. I don't like this, this, and this about it. And you're like, all right, cool. Well, you don't like these things. Let's take these off of the list of looking at, and let's go look at the things that you're actually going to like. Where the man's like, and I get phone calls about this. Today, someone was like, well, my husband, he likes the balcony on the second floor, but I want a first story. And he also likes modern, but he likes the it was like all over the place, right? And she's like, this is what I want. And she told me exactly what she wanted. And she's like, I need to get my husband on board. And
lean on that.
When I get him on board, we're going to move forward. I'm like, okay, wrangle your husband in. Let's talk. She knew what she wanted. And
who do you think makes the money in the relationship?
I'm always going to say the woman.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Well, actually, I do know. I usually know when it comes, across my desk.
Literally know.
I literally know.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, in most relationships that I see, typically the men make more money. I am seeing more than usual though, where the female makes more money. We just closed a transaction with a lovely couple that we took a closing photo of and everything that we posted. And she was the breadwinner.
Okay.
She was the breadwinner, but he was making the decisions.
Yeah, but even if he is making more money, the real question is who's saving it? Who's better at saving it?
Understood. 100% not. Not
No?
me.
Not you.
Nope.
It's usually the woman.
I make and spend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's usually the woman. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who makes more, who's saving it.
Or investing correctly.
Exactly.
So going back to the question, you're going with you prefer a female buyer and or seller. Again, you'd work with anyone, but if you could choose, that would be it.
Yeah.
How about you,
I'm gonna say
Kems?
yeah.
Okay. I like the multiple transactions. I like the second-time home buyer because I get to sell their first home that they lived in that they most likely have equity in because then they wouldn't be thinking about buying another one.
So you
locally.
like boomers?
Love me some boomers. I love it when you tell me you don't need a single story. Or you don't need 2 stories more. And you want to go single story. That's my favorite, because you get multiple transactions out. So you're gonna get the buy sell, and then typically there's some additional remaining equity they don't always transfer over. So we either get them with a perfect referral to a financial advisor that we build through these groups called firms, or I get another transaction. We go buy investment property. So I could get the triple. I could get the hat trick, or send him to someone I can recommend and refer to. And now he's got a whole group of basically a core group from this insurance. He's got insurance. He's got a great lender. He's got a real estate agent, and he's got a financial advisor. Now I've built the trust around all 4 of those. He feels he has a full system. Now I'm his go-to forever. Now he refers me to his friends, and I get repeat clients from that.
Okay, I changed my answer.
That's your answer now?
What he said.
Yeah, but let's remember that I understand that we help people for paychecks, right? But take the money out of the equation. Is that still your favorite client?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
And
Well, the thing is that I like to help people. I mean, I worked in hospitals for 10 years, so this is a different form of helping people.
I knew I was going to
No,
say there's no way.
No, it's actually investors.
Okay.
Actual investors.
Right. Not my.
Because here's the coolest part, not to sound like a lazy ass right here, but I'm not showing property until property's cash flowing.
Okay.
So if it cash flows, then we are going to go look at property. If it doesn't cash flow, you send me a property. Let's just say, for example, you send me 123 Main Street, and I run it through my underwriting spreadsheet, and it's negative cash flow by $250. Well, we ain't going to see that property. But then you send me 127 Main Street, and it's the same HOA, same property taxes, has a slightly higher square footage, but the rental rate catches back up. Okay, now we're positive $150 a month. So it is cash flowing. Okay, great. Let's go see that property. Let's make sure it's in good condition. Pictures are showing this. Seller's disclosure is showing that. It's not in a flood zone. We're in a really good spot. Okay, let's take a peek. All right, cool. You like the property. Everything looks good. Let's write an offer up, and you'll have it signed by tonight, and it's already sent in.
Interesting.
Love me some investors like that, because then they lean on me on the, you ran the spreadsheet correctly. I work with you directly, confirming the numbers I have on the PITI side. Then I look at what I have for CapEx. I look to see what I have for repairs, make sure that matches up, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Right on. Vanessa, what's your least favorite part of being a real estate agent? You can't love it all.
Well, I never sleep
Why?
because I'm just starting. I work my ass off.
Okay.
Whether I get up in the morning, I make calls, I send emails, I do a lot of like my own marketing. I put a lot of work into it. Kind of old school, like send out my own stuff to houses. I look up stuff on the MLS in order to get these people that I'm going to
Right.
market to. I mean, I'm constantly doing something.
Okay.
Hey, what's your handle for Instagram?
Vanessa_ATX.realtor.
All right, give it a follow. She does a
Yeah.
really
There
good
you
job.
go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So your least favorite part is that you don't sleep, but
Yeah.
is there anything a little more specific to the job itself that you hate the most?
Honestly, I hate cold calling.
Okay.
I actually was watching him. Remember, I told you I was watching him make cold calls, and he's really good at it. And I just typed up a bunch of stuff, had scenarios, right? Like they say this, go with this. They say that, go with that. They try to push here. This is how you push back. And I'm still getting used to it.
What do you dislike the most about the cold calling?
Well, one, it's boring. Let's be honest. It's boring. Half the people don't answer their phone.
Right.
Give you a bad number. They're rude. They hang up on you. I don't like that. I've actually been nicer to people calling my personal phone than I'm like, hello.
Right.
Like, no, thank you for calling. I'm nicer now about it. And then, sometimes you get on the phone and people just like, they talk to you for like an hour,
Yeah.
Those are they can be really good or a total waste of time.
When I say talk to you for an hour, I'm like, they're not talking to you about real estate. They're just like talking to
Yeah.
you about
They're just wasting your time.
Exactly.
We call those time bandits.
And you're trying to get back on track, and it's like they go off in a different direction.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna. That's just, I don't like cold calling.
I'll throw this out there. Guess what script she's using?
Proctor.
Bingo.
There it is. It's a good one. Yeah, I have been kind of tied to that. Not tied. I've been connected with that organization for 8 years now.
He provided me the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it to me.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I've been to a lot of the super conferences, and everything that is done with that organization is basically interchangeable to my business. And I've done a lot of things, so I've kind of vetted it, if you will.
When's that next training?
The next training we are doing is at Goosehead on a Mopac Expressway on the 9th floor. It's a beautiful training facility. You
Yeah, I
should
was
be
just
there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just there.
And it's on April 24th. I forgot the date for a second there. But
We have a ping pong table.
is right?
Multiple.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll agree with you on the cold calling, I started in this business as a telemarketer when I was 15 years old, and I really didn't mind cold calling. In fact, you can't be a loan officer until you're 18. So I was cold calling all the way until I was 18 years old, and then even when I started as a loan officer, I still had to do all of that. And I pounded phones for about 9 or 10 years straight, and I never really minded the cold calling except for the part that you talked about, where I always hated, the phone not when someone wasn't picking up. I actually never even minded people telling me to fuck off or anything like
I
that.
would rather them do that because then you're like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time trying
Yeah.
to call again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, my line in sales has always been, I can handle no, and I love to hear yes, but I just cannot stand maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me if you pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm not interested, or you cuss at me or whatever. I'll probably laugh about it, right?
Right.
Because, hey, somebody answered the phone.
Sure.
Somebody said something to me. I'm not just sitting here hearing the phone ring. And then I'll just be like, all right, I'm not going to call you back. But it's just not answering. It just gets really old.
So, and then I'm going to teach you something how you can call faster.
Yeah, I saw you do that. I could figure it out.
It's outside of Follow Up Boss too.
Okay.
So in Follow Up Boss, top left corner, if you can click, you basically create your list.
Mhm.
So let's just say you're on company leads. Top left corner, click select all. and then you click the little call icon, click create new list, and then you can call right through it.
Okay.
Part 2, if you subscribe to Mojo or Vulcan, I can say these later, you can actually throw the context you have from Follow Boss into a CSV file, upload it there, and it calls 3 people at once. First person to pick up, you talk to. The other 2, they hang up, and it redials them immediately.
Oh, see, this is fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Learning
it's
stuff
like-
live on the podcast.
Well, this is great because I can't hear anything from my computer. I'm like this, trying to talk to them, hear them. So
You got to throw in AirPods or something.
okay, because I ring it to my phone and then I always have to swipe. It's like, okay.
Yeah, 'cause so you got to throw in AirPods or have like Air Max, whatever, headset, just something. You got to have something connected because if you don't, then it's hard to hear. Your sorry guys, your audio doesn't transfer well back to your MacBook.
No,
What are you? PC?
I'm like Adele.
Yeah. Okay. So the audio
PC,
sucks.
yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So you got to throw in like some kind of
I did
AirPod
it
or
one
something.
time and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that again.
So outside of cold calling, we talked about the Instagram stuff that you're doing. Do you have any ideas or aspirations that you haven't done just yet that you want to utilize to, go after new business?
Well, I've always wanted to do stuff in the community, which is, I didn't know that about Lauren until I met her and she told me, which is fantastic. And we talk about it quite often of getting out into the community. I've always wanted to be a part of APA,
Okay.
Awesome Pets Alive. I've adopted 2 cats from them. And I love that corporation or, the company. And I actually am going to start on March 7th getting involved with them. So I'm super excited about that. And that's also kind of like a personal thing. If something comes out of it business-wise, great. But I love animals and it's going to be beautiful here soon.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that's going to help because if I'm not sleeping, I'm working all the time. I got to add something in there to keep my brain,
Yep.
sane. And like I said, if something comes out of it business-wise, great. But if not, that's, something I've always wanted to do. I have time now to do it because I am running my own business. So why
Yep.
not? So
Right on. How about you, Matt? You got anything that you want to start doing that you haven't done just yet?
Well, leveraging this is even more so with your new office here set up.
Yeah.
My desk is 15 feet from the studio that we're sitting in. So throwing on these a little bit more, going to get a lot more content out. So my plan is to get at least 3 to 4 videos of these out per week. So getting a lot of that, bringing on guests just like Vanessa, bringing on several people, and obviously having you come back on whenever you want, and just really getting a lot more content out there. Because I feel like there's a lot of scenarios where people have come to me recently and they said, hey, I saw your videos on this. Actually, I'm curious to find out a little bit more about it. Even though it's not like a DM, but it's like in person. We were at Goosehead. I feel horrible. It's a Spyglass agent. I don't even know his name. Well, anyways, he comes up to me. He goes, hey, man, I saw your videos. Can we talk a little bit more about that sub 2 stuff? I was like, I don't really want to, but okay, I'll teach you about it. Do you know what sub 2 is?
no, but I
Okay.
was going to say,
When am I doing the training?
Exactly.
but you just have this thing about you. You present really well and you are very smart and intelligent and people are drawn to that. So like for me, I knew who you were before I ever met you through Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just, boom, we intersected and here I am sitting with you down south in a podcast.
Love it.
And I've asked you, like, I've seen you on training videos that I looked up, right? They weren't like on the training. I like Googled them. So that's just going to keep happening to you.
Cool.
You should
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you should definitely.
It's funny that I haven't mentioned this on the podcast yet, and I want to get it out so I can create a clip for it. But I've been, when real estate agents refer to me, I'll obviously make my introduction, do all the things. And then one of the things that's been working really, really well is I'm like, oh, yeah, Matt had referred you over. I'm like, hey, here's all my contact information. Here's the application. Oh, and by the way, here's a link to a podcast that Matt and I are on. And I've done it for you. I've done it for James. I've done it for Ina. I've done it for, I can name about six or seven people that refer to me fairly regularly. Chase Kangalosi. And I have all of these clips just like readily available because they're on YouTube. And clients are just like, this is cool. Like, I know they're not watching the full podcast or anything along those lines, but it's like, I met this real estate agent. Now I'm talking to this lender. There's the two of them like chopping it up on a podcast. And it just goes over really, really well. So I'll make sure that we'll get that over to future clients.
Exactly, yeah.
They dig it. I mean, it's nice to put a face to a name, and especially as a lender, we don't typically get to see, the clients as much as real estate agents do. And, I just literally came from a closing before we got on here and talked to this client for well over 6 months because they're looking for an investment property. I met this guy for the first time, and it's the same every time. I can just see like the look on their face where they're like, "Oh man, it's so nice to know who I was dealing with," and like they're so much friendlier and everything along those lines. And I can always see that flash of the one time when they like questioned whether or not I was trying to screw them over on closing costs or interest rate. It's all just right there, you know. And so it is. It's cool when we have the videos to be able to forward over.
Well, no, again, coming from healthcare, it was so weird during COVID when I had to have the mask on because you can just tell people when you see somebody, it makes a difference.
Sure.
They're a person. Like,
Yeah.
it's huge for me for everyone to understand I'm a person. I'm a human being just like everyone else. So when I am doing those cold calls, say somebody, I don't know. And so I send them like that V card, right?
Mhm.
Has my picture on it. Hey, I'm a human being. Most of the time, I get good feedback from that. They're like, they'll text me back. They'll email me back because they put like a face and a name together.
Right.
I'll throw
You know,
another idea
It
there
makes
for you.
a huge difference.
All the ones that you basically every single call you have, go record a video template in BombBomb, shoot that over for every single person you called.
I love BombBomb. I use it all the time.
So like example, like
Do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I've
okay.
done one.
so like example would be like, hey, this is Matthew Kemps over at Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. I just tried giving you a call and you weren't expecting my call. I got a few things I kind of want to point out to you as whatever the topic is might be. When would you free? And then just have that like basically throw a call to action in there. So you have the top, click that call to action, throw it says call or text me, then make it a GIF, throw it in there, send it to them via email. Then inside of our CRM, you could then see if they opened it. And if they did open it, now create a task to call them, throw it as an appointment on your calendar, add them to the appointment.
Mhm.
So they know that you're going to be calling them too, and you don't have to communicate. You just send that. Then to send the auto text them, they have an appointment with you at 3:30 or whatever time you set it at. You call right at that time. You're going to get a hold of them.
See, I'm glad you're recording this.
Yeah, I put the Calendly link a lot of times in those
Yeah.
situations right in the video.
Huh.
So it's like just click the link, schedule
See,
an
this
appointment, and then I'll get a
technology,
ping.
You know,
This isn't even like that tech heavy. I
Okay,
mean, this is
coming from again.
coming from the medical field.
But
You're
would be-
terrifying me.
You'd be, I should be. I was gonna say you'd be surprised.
All right, maybe I'm not
You'd be
surprised.
surprised. The equipment is great. The monitoring systems, the computer systems could be a lot better.
All right,
And we're not keeping, systems like this where we're creating no.
right.
I'm not doing that. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. It's taken me.
I'll show you after we're done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do a lot of the videos when I send out the pre-approval letter because I try to get in front of the client right away. So like when somebody's referred to me from a real estate agent, I have that conversation. We run everything down, and then when I send over the approval letter, I'll CC the real estate agent, the clients, and then I'll put together a BombBomb just introducing myself. And it always goes over. I love BombBomb. I think it's fantastic.
So you're
But we got to remember too. You guys are two guys, right? So for a BombBomb for me, I have to kind of be careful. I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't
I-
disagree with
I
that.
do have to be a little bit more careful with who I'm sending what to.
Well, I'm not encouraging you to meet these people right away either.
Hey, let's go meet at this abandoned house.
Right, exactly. Don't do that. Bad idea. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
I did buy pepper spray.
You should just get a gun.
We are in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be
You
unusual.
think people will now? Hey, let's go to abandoned.
I have a story.
I do too. I have a lot of stories like this.
This
That's some dumb
This
shit.
just happened to me last night. So I was meeting, again, going back to trying to meet clients in person. Russ, who's on Matt's team, had sent me over a client that we could tell just was very hesitant to get the financing going. He'd seen like one or two properties, and Russ was kind of like, dude, you got to get pre-approved. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, because nobody wants to run a buyer to like a bunch of homes only to find out that they're not qualified. So I get in contact with the guy, have a good conversation and everything, and finally we just basically get him to complete his application. Turns out he lives right around the corner from me by my house. So I'm like, dude, we should just go grab a drink at this bar that's like right in between the two of us. He's got a dog. He's like, I'm gonna walk my dog there. We have a great meeting and everything. End up hanging with this guy for like an hour and a half. He's like, I feel so much more confident about purchasing. That's like public service announcement to you, real estate agents. Let me help you make your clients more confident. If there's financing involved, I promise you a lot of their hangups is about the financing. It is about the payment, and I can make a stronger buyer for you. So I leave, and I'm like, man, I'm really hungry because I hadn't eaten dinner yet. So there's this little, there's a gas station right at the corner with one of these little like taco stands. So I go up there and I order like 2 tacos. It's like 9:30. And there's a bunch of sketchy motherfuckers out in front of this taco stand,
Like,
right?
where do you live?
Yeah, I'm right on Congress.
Wait till you hear the Cleveland stories.
Oh yeah, this is nothing. Right on I live Congress and William Cannon.
Okay.
So there's this little taco thing. It's 9:30. So there's kind of these sketchy people that are all drinking. They're literally drinking 4 Locos, and the one dude's just trashed, right? And they're all kind of hanging there, and I forgot that I didn't have my phone. So I go back to my
Again,
I go back to my car, and I just reach in. My phone's on my seat, and I grab my phone and I put it in my pocket real quick. And everybody starts looking at me kind of weird, and I'm like, oh no,
They
and
probably
everybody's
thought you
looking at
had
me
a
kind of.
gun.
It's exactly what they thought, and I realized I was like, I forget sometimes being in Texas, like you just don't know.
This is
So
Texas.
that's the story that was going off of you being like, this is Texas, like happened to me last night. Me just grabbing my phone after like seeing some sketchy dudes, and I'm like, well, this is kind of fucking sketchy. I'm gonna go to my car, and I
Make
was
it
just
more
getting
sketchy.
my phone, and then
And
they
now
were
everyone's
like,
scared of you.
yeah, exactly. I like sketched out the sketchy people. They're like, this gringo, and it's
Wait.
like this gringo's gonna shoot us.
Did you get your tacos?
I got my tacos.
Okay.
They were mediocre, but considering the time, 9:30 on a Thursday, it's like,
But
yeah, they were. all right.
That's the problem. The time you were in a gas station parking lot.
I know. But as Matt said, I'm from Cleveland, and those
I really want
these
you
aren't
to tell.
even-
I really want you to tell a story of when you got jumped.
robbed.
Both.
All right.
You should have had a gun.
All right, I've never told the story on the podcast.
I really want to. This is like that story last night is nothing.
All right, so this story I can tie into real estate as well. So remember when I told you I was a telemarketer for a
Yeah.
very long time? So I'm working for this mortgage company. I'm 20. I just turned 21. I'm 21 years old, and I am downtown on St. Patrick's Day in Cleveland, Ohio, which St. Patrick's Day is like a big holiday in Cleveland. Don't ask me why. It's just like everybody goes out and just gets hammered. So I'm downtown and I'm working for this mortgage company, but I'm basically like a telemarketer, and I end up going to this like club after the parade. And when I say after the parade, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon and everyone's already bombed, right? So it's 3 in the afternoon. I go to this club, and it turns out that the owner of my company is also at the club. And I'm like, I'm gonna tell him, like, if you don't make me a loan officer, I'm leaving. I'll go work for another company. I'm doing it. I'm like, fuck it, I'm doing it. So I go over, I'm having a drink with the owner of the company. Finally, I get the balls, and I'm like, listen, man, I've been doing this for long enough. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. Like, I need to become an official loan officer, or I can go to any other company and they'll hire me. And with no hesitation, he was like, done. You're a loan officer tomorrow. And I was like, fuck yeah. So I finish my drink and I leave, and I go outside, and I'm trying to catch a cab, and there's just like no way I can catch a cab. There's just tons of people downtown. And in my mind, I thought, well, because I live close to downtown. I'm like, I live about 3 miles from downtown. I'm like, I could walk that. But once you get outside of downtown and then like back into my neighborhood, it is like the most ghetto part of Cleveland. It is literally East Cleveland. And I think I could walk through East Cleveland to my apartment. No big deal, right? That was a bad idea. So I start walking home to my apartment, and I'm walking down the street. I'm pretty hammered. It's still kind of light outside, by the way. It's like dusk. It's maybe like, it's March, so it's probably only like 5:30, but it's getting dark. And I see these 2 little kids on the other side of the
That's the worst
street.
part.
I see these 2 little kids on the other side of the street. So I'm walking this way. They're on the other side of the road, and they are like full sprint running down the sidewalk. And I'm looking at these kids like they're running from something, right? And I'm looking around like they're running as fast as they can, like they're running for their lives, like they're being chased by zombies. And I'm like, what is going on? So I stop walking and I watch them. They're coming down the street closer. They cross the street, and the one kid pulls out a gun and goes, get the fuck on the ground. I was like, oh.
How old were these kids?
The one was probably 13 or 14, and the other one was maybe 8 or 9.
See, you made a mistake. You should have started running like they were. Just, oh my God, everyone's running away. So you stopped.
I
right?
mean, I
You
definitely
thought,
would have been faster
What
than
are
them.
these kids running away from? I'm gonna
Not
stand
faster
here
than
and
a bullet,
ponder
though.
that instead of turning around and running with them.
I was hammered. So this isn't even the crazy part of the story.
Not even close.
So
What?
he's like, get the fuck on the ground. And I'm like, all right, dude. I literally am like hammered, and I'm totally broing out right now. And I'm like, all right, dude, just chill. You can have all my stuff. Like, I'm like 5'11", right? These kids are like up to here on me, right? Like these are little children.
Like, it's not like this. It's like this.
Well, no, so they're like, get on the ground, right? They want me to get on my knees, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get on my knees. Like, we're negotiating this robbery, right? So they make me pull everything out of my pockets. They take all the money out of my wallet, my credit cards. They take my phone, and then he goes to grab my keys for my car and my apartment. And I grab his wrist, and I'm like, yo, you don't need my keys. Think about it. Like, I like lock eyes with him, like, think about it. I was like, I gotta get in my apartment. He's like, he looks at me and goes, just nods his head, and they boogie, right? So now all I have are the keys to my car and my apartment. My car's at my apartment. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm like sitting there for a second, like, what am I going to do? I can't make a phone call. I don't have any money. So I look over, and about 100 yards away is St. Vincent's Hospital on the east side. I'm like, a hospital's a safe place, right? Like, that's a safe place to go. So I go to the hospital. And I walk in, and I go up to the attendant at the counter, and I'm like, hey, I just got robbed. I was like, can I use the phone really quick so I can make a phone call, have my girl come and pick me up, and I'll be out of here. She's like, we don't let people use the phone. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, and it's in her defense, it's a rough neighborhood, so like there's probably people coming in asking to use the phone all the time. And I'm like, you don't understand, like I just got robbed. I have a cell phone. It's just not with me because it's been stolen. Let me make a phone call. She's like, can't do it. So I'm like, fuck, right? So I go and sit in the waiting room, and there's a woman on the phone, and she's talking. This is a while ago. I'll never forget. She has a Nokia phone. So she's on her phone.
She's playing
With the
Snake.
snake. I was gonna say.
No, she's talking on her phone, and the whole time I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna wait till she gets off the phone, and then I'm gonna ask her if I can use her phone real quick, So I'm waiting, and like, no exaggeration, like 20 minutes goes by. It's fucking dark out now. Like, I'm like, this is insane. She's still on the phone. So I go over to her, and I'm like, ma'am. She's still talking and just going on with her story. And I was like, ma'am. She goes, hold on. She goes like this, and she looks at me. She goes, I see you over here asking if you can use the phone, talking about how you got robbed. She goes, fuck you, N-word.
What?
Yeah, true story. It doesn't end there.
Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know. If
So I'm like,
look there.
wow. So all of a sudden, there's like a rent-a-cop in the booth when you first come in. The
Is this a real
rent-a-cop,
story?
this
Yes.
true swear to. So this rent-a-cop comes around because she's like telling me to fuck off, and this rent-a-cop comes around and goes, "What's going on?" And I look at him and I say, I tried to use the phone up here. I said, I had these two kids rob me. I don't have my phone. I don't have
Two
any money.
kids.
I was like, I just need to make a phone call. And I asked her if I could use the phone. He goes, boy, you asked if you asking patients out if you can use the phone. I was like, yeah, I just need to make one phone call. He goes, I want to kick you out of here.
Are you sure? Were you still drunk? Is
No.
this story correct?
No, this is a true story. This is like 2006. So I'm like, fuck. So I sit there. The cop comes back like 5 minutes later because he feels bad, right? This is how you know it was a long time ago. He goes, I'm going to give you a quarter. You can go and use the payphone. I was like, all right. So I grab it. I take the quarter. I go and I use the payphone, and I call my girlfriend. And you know what a woman does when she gets a phone call from a number she doesn't recognize? She doesn't fucking answer it. That's what she does. And so my quarter and my one phone call opportunity, donezo.
Why didn't call like 911?
There was a cop right there.
You said rent a cop. That's
Well,
not
I mean, he has access to the police. I mean,
Oh,
clearly,
yeah, he's a great cop. Here's a
Right.
quarter.
clearly, there's no emergency though. If I was in Austin, they wouldn't they wouldn't be there either. Anyway,
And they would have said, fuck you. And
yeah. So then I go and I'm like, well, I'm leaving, right? So I go out, and the rent-a-cop stops me, and he's like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm leaving. I'm not going to like live here. You gave me a quarter. I called my girl. She didn't answer. I asked that nice lady to use her phone, and she told me what to do. I was like, I'm leaving. Like, he's like, dude, I would not go out there right now. You're in the like worst part of Cleveland, and now it's like 9:30 at night, and it's dark. And I was like, I don't feel like I have a choice. So I leave, and I head back downtown
like
Truth be told, I sprinted the whole way, like as fast as I
Ran.
could, right? Ran. I get back downtown where I started. I go into this Rascal House Pizza, which is on Cleveland State's like campus downtown, which I think Rascal House still exists. Great pizza, by the way. I go in there and there's all these drunk kids because it's St. Patrick's Day. I go up to the very first table of like 15 kids and I'm like, hey, I just got robbed. Can I use someone's cell phone? Wham! Like 15 cell phones. I just blow up my girl's phone. She gets like 3 calls from the same number, picks it up, picks me up. That's the story.
Well, if I was working at the hospital, I would have let you use the phone.
That would
Or
have
I'd
been
be
nice.
like, I can call someone for you. Who would you like me to call? Was that not an offer?
That makes a lot of sense. You know, listen, given the location we were in, I think if it was in any other location, those things probably would have happened. But being in East Cleveland is, well, it's if you've never been,
I've never
you
been
just
there.
don't want to go there.
It doesn't
shouldn't-
sound
I
like
shouldn't
it,
have
getting
been
robbed
there.
by children.
Correct. So
Well,
now
what
that's
happened?
made
Did
it on
you
the
ever-
podcast.
Did you ever get your phone back? You ever?
No,
Nothing
I had
came
to
of
get a
it?
new phone. I had to cancel all my credit cards, all the things.
Okay, so visit Cleveland. Yeah.
Cleveland.
Is that when you decided to move here?
No, I ended up living there for like another 14 years.
Yeah. Get a gun.
Right?
So let's just call this podcast episode whatever it is.
17, 18. 17 or
on
18.
yours, not on mine.
What's it? What do you mean?
On yours.
Oh.
No, on.
Oh, total?
Yeah.
Oh, God. We've got to be approaching 90s now.
Yeah. Okay. So episode 90 something. Get a gun.
Yeah, get a gun.
I don't know, man. It was pretty surreal. I was very surprised. I mean, again, I was hammered, but I was very surprised at how like I was not like I wouldn't say I wasn't scared, but I wasn't like
Well, okay, so I was told to get a gun, but I'm like, okay, I have pepper spray. Like the guy at Lowe's was like, you gotta get a gun, right? We're in Texas, you gotta get a gun, you gotta protect yourself. I'm like, I don't know if people are gonna like want to go into like abandoned houses, no, not abandoned, like vacant houses with me if they know I have a gun.
Well, the gun's not obvious.
I'm
Yeah,
a small
you-
person. What am I gonna put it in the like?
You're not. It's not like you're
Where am I
open.
gonna put it?
Not open carrying. Just like I would like throw a little bag scenario.
you get, like, a little
have
Kimber.
a holster like built
Like
into your,
in my purse.
yeah, have a little
Yeah, that's
holster built
good.
into
Like
your
I
purse,
got a gack in
and
my
then like
purse?
just keep practicing. Got a gack.
a gat.
Gack. You never heard of that?
It's gat.
Oh, I thought it was gack.
No.
Oh, see?
Okay, so anyways,
That was awesome. We are 100% making that a short.
okay. So anyways, you got a little holster is just sitting there in your purse. It's kind of like purse against your purse, and go and just start practicing.
I don't know. I don't.
Make sure the gun's not loaded while you're
Yeah, I
practicing.
just like I'm afraid. I pepper sprayed myself once. I don't know if I should have a gun. That's why I didn't have it, and then I ended up leaving the pepper spray at the
Get a
open
big
house that I did.
dog.
I used to have a big dog. Now I have a cat.
That's not gonna do
What
it.
am I gonna take the dog with me? Hey, here's my dog. Come
You
and go.
could.
No.
Jason Randall does.
Takes his
Jason
dog
Randall?
with them to-
Everywhere. What's his dog's name?
Lovey.
Shout out to the dog's named Lovey. Shout out to Lovey. Lovey.
Okay, so what? Spyglass agent. Okay, so he wanted me to work with him on how to build more content, and we're talking or like, how to get more socially like media aware. This guy's in his 50s, and just he's like, I need a little more help here. I'm like, okay, so let's chat. So we start chatting, and I'm like giving him ideas like, here's some companies that can help you edit. Here's like some software you can use. Like, here, go watch some of these videos. And he's like, no, stop, I got it. I'm like, okay, what? He goes, I'm putting my dog in every video. I'm like,
That's never been done before.
power to you, man. All right, that was not my idea, not where I was going with it. But if you want to do that and brand yourself that way, Jason, I'm sorry if you watch this video. Your opinion's your opinion, but
Wait, he takes his dog to like.
his dog's about this big.
Oh, what's that gonna do?
No, that's not for safety purposes. It's for brand. It's like grabbing
Actually, those
attention.
dogs are probably. I'm probably more scared of like Chihuahuas because they'll like bite you and.
I'm just saying, like, it's just two different brands in the same brand.
I'm not. Here's my dog.
Right.
My dog weighed
I'll show you
85 pounds.
I'll show you the video afterwards. Okay, let's finish up the topic. What do you want next?
You said you had a story. We were talking about guns, pepper spray.
Oh, I do, but we don't need to go. That one's going to be over an
No.
hour now. If you want a funny story, we can talk about Matt's dorm room story.
Oh yeah. No, that's another episode also. Let's finish up with something real estate related, though. I mean, I think it's important to always mention the date because some of the things we talk about, they ebb and flow. So today's what, the 28th?
No,
No, it's like the
23rd.
23rd, excuse me. So today is
It's
February.
3 twice.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where it was.
Yeah.
So February 23rd, we are going to be approaching the spring market, which everybody talks about, very excitedly. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're going to have a big spring market? You think it's going to be normal spring market?
Nothing crazy.
Okay.
Based
And
off,
so who does that help and who does that hurt
it's
in the
fantastic for buyers.
buyers?
If you are a buyer right now, and you're even considering it, leverage temporary buy downs, get seller concessions to cover some of your closing costs, take advantage of higher days on market, and buy a home. Sellers, I know you hate hearing that, but spring market could help you a little bit, but it's not to shit on the market whatsoever at all. But we're setting expectations. We're gonna have higher days on market right now.
Okay.
I have listings that are getting sound bad when I say this too. Listings that are getting very minimal showings, and when I pull the reports from Showing Time, so we actually have access to this software called Showing Time, which is how we schedule all of our appointments. Well, Showing Time captures all of that data, and within that data, you can actually run reports. Within those reports, there's one called Target Market Analysis, and you can actually search by zip code. So let's just say, where's your new lease listing? What zip code?
78745.
Okay, so let's look in 78745, and then within that price point, let's just say we're searching. How many leases are we looking for? Like, what's your price point on that one?
2075.
Okay, 2075. So we're gonna look between 2,000 and 2,200, and we're gonna see how many showings are actually being done in that zip code,
Yeah.
and to see where you should actually be pricing the home based
Yeah.
off of showings, and then also look at your comps. But then it also shows you your client how many showings have happened in those areas within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or a set rate that you can kind of do. So before I'm doing any listings right now, we're having to be extremely strategic on what we price that, even based, look, obviously comps are number one. But then let's say, for example, let's say we're looking between 500 and 600. And I know property value is 550, but I'm seeing a ton of showings at 525. I'm still going to suggest them. Hey, let's look at 525 as the list price. I'm not shorting you $25,000. I'm still working off of a net sheet, but we're going to get way more action because look how many showings we've had in the last 90 days compared to what we had at 550. 525, we may have had 17 showings. At 550 or greater, we only had 4. Let's focus on this. This is where search is coming in from, and for some reason, buyers are looking at that price point in this zip code more often.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I know sellers hate to hear that, but
Yep.
it's just where we're at right now.
And then
you
with that-
can't lie. You can't, it's facts.
Exactly. And then
This is
within
where we're
that
at.
conversation, it's then, again, setting the expectations of days on market and then referring back. Here's what I expect your net sheet to be. I am the professional. Please rely on me for any questions you may have. And I'm going to tell you how we're actually hit to this net sheet with the strategy that we're putting in place.
Yeah. I mean, if you put it lower, you can create more competition. It's going to
Correct.
bring that price up. So it's just all about strategy.
Yeah, so I'll give you examples. Like I have one I just listed yesterday. It's 13006 Bloomington Drive. It's in South Austin in the hills of Estancia. But Matt was actually the LO that actually closed that transaction when that guy bought. He bought a VA loan at 2.625%. With that being
What a good rate.
Yeah.
What lender got it at?
This guy over here. With that being said, that loan is assumable. And I'm going to let Matt go to detail here and explain everything that goes along with assumable loans and how that works. And then that can be our final topic. But long story short, on the front page on the listing, I just threw in some red text, 2.625 assumable loan. And it's the front picture of it, but threw some text on top. I tested it one day without the text, but I had it in the description. I did another day, second day on market, with the text. I got 7 phone calls today.
Yeah.
Proven fact, agents and everyone else do not read descriptions.
Look
Yeah.
what happened to me today.
Exactly.
They didn't read it.
Exactly.
I'm like, I know
That
what
would
I put in
be
there.
too much work,
It
Come on,
takes
bud.
2 seconds.
right?
Bet, bro.
What did you want me to cover?
I want you to go over assumable loans and how
Oh,
they
yeah.
work, especially VA.
Well, so I actually had this conversation with another branch manager yesterday. I've got this little group that I do every week with some of the higher end branch managers across the country, and because there's been a lot of talk about assumable loans in general, and then to your point, VA specifically. So VA loans are assumable by anybody, right? Doesn't have to necessarily be a veteran, because there was some confusion that
Yeah.
a non-veteran could not assume a VA loan. Well, that's not true. A non-veteran can assume a non-VA loan. The only
no, assume a VA loan.
or assume a VA loan, excuse me. The only risk to that is that as a veteran, one of the things that you have in regards to your VA benefit is we call it your basically your eligibility, right?
Or entitlements.
And
Yep.
entitlement. And there's a dollar figure that's associated with it based on the amount of time that you've spent in the military, in addition to your percentage of disability with the military. And there's a very confusing calculation, to be quite honest, that it is not just as easy as me saying, well, here's what it is. But the point I'm trying to make is that as a veteran, if you allow somebody to take advantage of your assumable loan, if that individual is a veteran, then your entitlement doesn't get tied up in that loan, because that entitlement will then be taken over by the new veteran who's assuming the loan. But if you have a non-veteran that assumes the VA loan, your entitlement as a veteran is tied up in that loan until the person who has assumed that loan either refinances or sells. And so, depending on how much of your entitlement was tied up in that initial property can create a problem if you decide to take advantage of another VA loan in the future. And hypothetically, if that person were to ever foreclose on that property, the entitlement portion of that loan through the VA could be gone forever. So
null and void.
Right.
Well, this is interesting because I don't know a ton about VA loans, but I do know that if I have somebody who is a veteran and wanting to purchase a home, 100% I'm going to hook them up with someone who's an expert with that, because
Yeah, for sure.
not every lender is.
No, VA is tricky. It's by tricky, it's not rocket science, but it's definitely something that you have to kind of stay up on and know guidelines and everything along those lines, because I've definitely seen situations with VA deals where everybody thinks everything's going good, and then all of a sudden, we have a problem and we can't get the deal done. And, the thing about VA is, like, I mean this, with a soft heart, is like sometimes some of their rules, like, they just don't make sense. It's like, that doesn't make sense. It's like, doesn't matter. Like, this is what we came up with. This is how they want it, and that's how it is.
So let's just use example on that property. Let's say I get a non-VA that purchase it with using the 2.625 assumable.
Yep.
Let's say they then sell that. Can they sell it as assumable?
I mean, yeah, because at the end of the
And
day,
then it just basically it's available for 30 years.
yeah, I mean, 100%. That loan can also be assumable, and that brings me to another thing we haven't done on this podcast that's super interesting. So a lot of people are like, I want to take advantage of an assumable loan, but let's just, to make numbers easy, let's say that there's $400,000.
Use my example. I know where you're going with this. Mine's $330,000 payoff.
$330,000 payoff. Let's just say they want to sell
sales
for $450 sales price. That difference between $330 and the $450 that the seller wants, well, that has to be brought to the table by the buyer. And so a lot of these buyers ask, like, do you do second mortgages? Do you have the ability to help me finance that other portion? Because I don't have, in this case, like $130,000. So everybody starts calling around trying to find companies that'll do second mortgages. They call them purchase money second mortgages.
That was part of the problem I had in Mexico, was this right here.
Well, what, buying a home in Mexico?
No, because they were buying the property here.
Yeah,
and
so
they
I'll
needed a
explain
second
the
mortgage.
reason why. So we do purchase money second mortgages all the time when someone's trying to, like, avoid jumbo status or things like that. The reason why these lenders don't want to do these follow-up purchase money seconds behind an assumable loan is because of what you just said. The loan is assumable. And so what that means is that you might be underwriting the loan based on the current person who's purchasing it, and at any time, the person who owns it could just transfer the assumability to another person, and now as the second mortgage company, you're kind of like hung out to dry. And that is why most second mortgages in general are never done with a first mortgage being
Assumable.
a FHA or VA loan. So even the purchase money loans that we do on purchase, where someone's like, oh, I want to avoid jumbo loan status, we'll do the first one at like 775, finance the other 100. Those are conventional loans that are non-assumable. So getting a mortgage for the second portion, or the difference between a payoff and the purchase price behind an assumable loan is almost impossible.
I know not the first to think of this because I've gone through all this creative finance bullshit. Okay.
Right.
Well, yeah, what do you think about that?
We can talk 3 hours on
Okay.
it. Okay. We have a whole podcast on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if I try to do an assumable loan and then I seller finance it with an entry fee? And now I have 2 types of financing built into a deal.
I mean, that would be fine if you
Well,
want.
besides the seller kind of getting fucked over.
Well, I mean, but you're taking second lien position through the seller financing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting your money. I mean, that's the answer.
Actually, you should say the seller's not getting fucked over because now they're charging interest on something
Right.
else.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I kind of had because my problem in Mexico, or here, just being in Mexico, was that the developer was giving seller financing, and then they would, if it was over a certain amount, they needed a second mortgage, and at the time, nobody was doing that, especially for people who were, from Mexico.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was everything was kind of falling apart.
Well, and it's because everybody doesn't, you don't want to take second lien position. And going back to your point, like the seller financing part, you could absolutely do that, but now you're not getting your cash.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to
Okay, instead of sub 2s, why don't people do this?
Well, because the whole idea behind sub 2 is getting a loan without credit and without any kind of income verification. With an assumable loan, you still have to verify that you can make the payment.
Facts.
See, I have all the answers. And with that being said, I need a drink. We're going to wrap it up.
It's hot as fuck in here.
I'm not hot.
I'm
You're
not
wearing a
hot.
fucking vest.
Yeah.
Are you hot?
It's like 80 degrees outside. Why are you wearing that?
Dressed like
Because-
it's 40.
Because we're on a whole thing where I'm wearing basically button down a jacket basically the rest
That's
of the
not
year.
a button down. That's a zip up.
Yeah, because that's the whole other issue. My jacket fell in my car when I put it in the car last night before I came here in the morning at 5 a.m. for workout.
Got it all wrinkly.
And it got wrinkled.
Why didn't Nina bring the steamer?
Because I felt bad. Ina's already brought enough shit to the office.
You don't have an iron here?
That's what
we were trying to do.
yeah, there
You
will
called
be
it
one.
a steamer.
Well, those
Like one of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. I just have
even
like-
better, right?
I like the iron.
So Matt Kirschling, Gold Star Mortgage, looking for people who are getting prepped up for the spring season. Buyers are my favorite, so happy to hear that it's going to be a buyer's market, according to our guru here, Mr. Kemps.
Yes, this is Vanessa. I'm Vanessa. I've never been on a podcast, but
Well, Vanessa, what we're looking for you to do is just tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're
Oh.
going to be looking for
And
here
then
in the
like
next 90
and
days.
Like a little bit of call to action.
okay.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, let's hear you first.
Okay. So again, I'm Matthew Kemps at Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. Like Matt said, it's going to be kind of what we expect to be a buyer's market. It's still going to have low inventory, but we're going to have high days on market. Buyers can really take effect of all these different opportunities. So if you are considering looking at purchasing potentially in the spring, summer, fall season, please feel free to reach out to me. We have multiple different options in regards to the loan side with Matt here. And I'm going to kick it right off to Vanessa.
Well, that was great. I don't know if I want to follow that, but I'm Vanessa. I'm Vanessa Mahler. I'm with Spyglass Realty. Of course, I want you to follow me on Instagram. Again, my handle is Vanessa_ATX.realtor. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here talking to 2 experts. So definitely want to come back. I'll be more prepared.
You did great.
She wants to show you some homes in the spring market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ideally,
bring a gun.
ideally an independent, strong female.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Bingo.
Thank you.